I got into swimming when I was about 6. My mom's terribly afraid of the water, and she put me into swim lessons when I was little so that I wouldn't experience the same fears that she had. Did that for a couple of years, and then I think I swam in my first meet when I was about 8, and that was in Madison or Milwaukee, somewhere in freezing cold Wisconsin in the winter, I'm sure. But that's how I started swimming way back when. I set an American record at the Short Course World Championships in 1993 in Mallorca, Spain, in the 200-meter breaststroke. Do not remember what my time was. It probably lasted about a year, maybe a year and a half. Really, I think up until then they hadn't hosted any short course meters, big meets that kids would shave for in the U.S. I think they had a U.S. Open maybe a year or two after that. So I think I lasted for a little bit, but not too long. That was a few years before making the Olympic team in '96. At 88 trials, I went as a high school senior and finished 7th in the 200 breaststroke. I wasn't disappointed with that. I was pretty excited about it. However, my roommate at the time was Daniel Waters, and he was a junior in high school and made the team in the 100 breaststroke, so he beat me. But it was pretty neat to watch Daniel and how excited he was. And I thought that would be pretty cool to do myself someday and watch the guys make the team in the 100 and 200 that week. And 4 years later was the trials for Barcelona in '92, and there's a lot of people in the room, I'm sure, that remember that trials for me didn't go so well. I was 3rd and 3rd, so I was the alternate twice. And thanks to the '84 team doing so well in Los Angeles, we only took 2 athletes per event. And so when you're 3rd and 3rd, you were the alternate and the alternate. So you get to fill out the forms and say, I will stay in shape, and here are my clothing sizes and all that kind of fun stuff. And then you get to sit around and wait and hope that something Nancy Kerrigan-esque happens to one of your fellow competitors and teammates in your event, which I didn't hope for that to happen, Hans Dersch, if you ever see this. But I didn't sign it. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be the alternate. If I'm going to go, I'm going to make the team on my own merit and be top 2. So I took the summer off and grew a beard and grew my hair long and played beach volleyball with the team at Michigan and kind of hung out in the park a lot and swam a little bit and just kind of got my brain set for my senior year at Michigan then, which was '92, '93. And trained through that year and just kind of pieced together season after season and put together one more goal to make this one more trip to this place and one more team to that place, and just kind of strung them together for another 2 years. And then I figured, all right, I'm close, and the Olympics are in Atlanta. That would be a great way to go out on a hometown team in my home country. Finished 3rd in my first event at trials again. So I'm now the Dan Jansen of swimming, right? And the 100 breast was the first day, and there was a clock malfunction, so it was a lot of drama around the end of that race, and had to sit around and wait for 4 or 5 more days at Olympic trials that year in Indianapolis to try to make my spot on the team in the 200, and finally did. Finished 2nd, turned around, saw the time, looked at the officials. John Wilson is a guy from Georgia. Everybody knows John, and he was the head official at the end, and he was looking at me like, you did? I'm like, was that official? Did the clock malfunction again? Is that for real? And my team was going crazy, and they could tell that I had actually finished 2nd and really made the team. So it was pretty a long process, 8 years from my first trial to my last one, but well worth the journey. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So I had, at Dynamo, I had 5 or 6 different coaches over my time there. So I started with Kathy McKee when I was 13, and then moved up to the next group that I think was probably either Pat Hogan or Scott Colby. And had those guys for a couple of years. Pat was tough, but always had a good joke handy. Scott was funny and always had a good workout handy. Then went to Bill Wadley. He was there for a little while. And then David Marsh, who is now the coach for I think the national team coach or a resident team program that's up in North Carolina in Mecklenburg. And after David left, Alex Braunfeld came, and he turned our entire worlds upside down. He was tough. I was always interested to see what the workout was of the day that we were going to be doing with every other coach that I just named. I've never been so intimidated about what we might be doing as a workout when Alex was in charge. As far as folks that I looked up to growing up, I remember the kids on my team, the older kids on my team. When you're 13, 14, you're looking at the guys who are 17, 18 and getting ready to go off to college, or the guys that would come home in the summer from a college program. You're like, wow, they're so fast, they're so fit, they're so jacked, right? Those were the guys you looked up to. I grew up in Georgia, obviously, so Lundqvist. We all looked at Lunk, right? He was a big, fun party guy, but at the same time, he was the world record holder, and smashed every record that he touched in breaststroke, and that's what I swam. So I looked at him as like, wow, that dude's pretty cool. From Georgia, my main rivals growing up were Mark Smith and Hans Dersch. Hans went on to make the 92 Olympic team. Mark and I competed all the way through high school and through college against each other. He was at South Carolina. I think once you get into college, it shifts a little bit. You're looking at the guys from Texas and Stanford when you're at Michigan and trying to pick out who they are, because you compete against different people, usually short course yards, than you do against long course meters, because usually most guys aren't great at both. They're a little better at one or the other. So you're trying to pick off different guys in the winter than you are in the summer.